What is going on, fight fans? My name is Jake Lippman, and I'm here today with Combat Sports Today. And today's guest is none other than Boston Salmon. Boston, how you doing, my friend?
Good today. Great to be here, Jake.
And I appreciate you coming on. We were talking backstage. It's the end of my day, but it's just getting started for you over in beautiful Hawaii. How is it this time of year?
Today was actually raining. Supposed to start getting a little sunnier. Summer's, coming close. Uh, but today we got a little rain, but nothing wrong with rain. That's how the island gets green, right?
And time is all you need. I'm sure you're prepping now for your fight here on June 14th with Dirty Boxing. It's the second ever event at the Regatta Harbor down in Miami, kind of Miami, but in South Florida. How you feeling in preparation?
I feel great. Preparation's a little different now that I'm here in Hawaii. Never really got ready for a professional fight here in the state of Hawaii. Obviously, all my fights I spent at all my professional fights I spent at Extreme Couture on in Las Vegas. Um, I made the transition here to Hawaii almost 2 years now, close to 2 years. My last fight was 3 years ago, for PFL. So I guess the transition here in Hawaii, it's a little different. It's definitely not the fight capital like Las Vegas. You don't get the bodies, you don't get the gyms like you do in Las Vegas, but we're able to make it work here in Paradise.
In paradise it is, and I'm sure for you, you're getting a lot more individual attention to yourself. But I know you've also been able to enjoy the islands, enjoy, I'm sure, some time with family as well. But I know yesterday you went fishing. Pardon the corny joke here, but did you catch any salmon?
There's no salmon that runs in the water here in Hawaii. I might be the only one.
Well, I'm sure that helps. No, then at that rate. But I'm sure it's nice for you to get out on the water, enjoy the islands. And for you, I'm sure it's a big change. I know Eric Nixick, obviously from Extreme Couture, has been in your corner. You've had guys like Punahele Soriano with you along the way. So talk to me now about kind of the transition now. You're training back at home. Who are you working with, and kind of how does that differ from your previous approach?
It's definitely a big change. I'm working back with my old boxing coach that I worked from when I was a kid. We won multiple boxing championships. He trained a bunch of legends. A name to list is Dennis Alexio. If you're big into mixed martial arts, he was a big kickboxer back in the day. He would go out in his professional fights and he would use like a hula skirt, and he was a bad man. But that's kind of how I met my previous coach now, Al Kekahuna. I was a kid and I was training with him, and we are getting ready for I think it was a ringside national tournament in Missouri. We're getting ready for that tournament, and that's kind of how I met Dennis. And as a kid, I was just strictly boxing, right? So I never really thought about joining MMA or anything. The likes of BJ Penn would come into our gym, and this was kind of like the beginning stages of the UFC and mixed martial arts too. Kickboxing was still a big thing. But I remember Dennis Alexio, obviously BJ Penn. But anyways, yeah, he trained Dennis Alexio, and then I spent a lot of time with him as a youth and going up to high school, and then when I made that transition to Vegas, we kind of stayed in touch. And now that I'm back in Hawaii, I have he's still healthy, he's older, he's still got it, still looks very young. I'm just fortunate that I can come back, to kind of where I started and get it going with him again.
And you're getting it started really twofold, not just in the way that you're training, but in a new promotion. I think your style of fighting is going to fit like a glove in Dirty Boxing, if you ask me. But talk to me about your thoughts on Dirty Boxing. How do you think it's going to take the world by storm?
If you know me, if you ask any professional fighter that I trained with out of Extreme Couture, or if anyone that coached me, this really fits my style. When the promotion first came out, I reached out to my management. I'm like, "Yo, get me on that show. I need to be on that show." We're talking about boxing in a smaller ring, and you can elbow, you can clinch. That fits my style. I have over 50 boxing amateur fights. When I was first coming into the UFC, that's what people kind of really knew me as. As a boxer. So. It's definitely it'll be very exciting. I'm actually really anxious and excited to, I guess, fight for this promotion because it's a newer promotion. And like I said, it fits my style. I go in there, I get to use my hands, which stand out probably the best that I think. Um, it's 3 rounds, 3 minutes, in a smaller cage with I think 4-ounce gloves, 4 to 6 ounce gloves. Um, My style is exciting. I think I still believe that I have one of the best hands, the best boxing, and I'm able to show that, in 2 weeks for Dirty Boxing.
For you watching your tape, I mean, you stand strong and throw everything in with it, but you can still move, which is going to be really great. And like you said, that smaller Dirty Boxing ring. I was at the first event and it was electric. I mean, you're in a hangar
Oh,
and the sound, it travels, and the crowd can be heard, and it's just electric. And you're right. I mean, the smaller ring really does provide the opportunity for fun, simply put it. So I think for you, again, with your style, you're going to fit like a glove. I didn't know that you had so much amateur boxing experience. Talk to me about how you got into boxing and really what's got you from the start of boxing to where you are now, deep in your professional career.
yep. So I come from a city called Waianae, Hawaii, the same city as Max Holloway. Me and Max, we've known each other since we were kids. Um, Same high school, same intermediate. We played baseball together as a youth. Um, our city is really, it's a really tough city. If you talk about all the cities in Hawaii, it's one of the tougher cities, right? So if you're kind of like, if you're like me, you're light skinned, you gotta learn how to fight. That's just the meaning of the city, right? My dad kind of grew up in that era where, like, if you're light skinned or if you're white, we have Hawaiian blood, but like obviously we don't, it doesn't really show. Hawaiians, they're more dark. You can tell what a Hawaiian looks like. Fortunate enough that I do have Hawaiian blood, but if you're looking out from the outside, it doesn't look like I do have Hawaiian blood, right? So if you're on that, if you're fair skinned, you're light skinned, if you're Asian and you weren't of Hawaiian descent, then back in the day they would call it Holly Crap Day, right? Or Kill Holly Day, right? So if you're in high school or whatever and you were of that skin color, then the Hawaiians would come and they would beat you up, right? Luckily, my dad could fight, so he would always back. He was able to back himself up, and all of his brothers were darker because he had a lot of. My he has like 9 siblings. They're all dark. They're all they look Hawaiian, but he was one of the fair skin, one of all the siblings. So he would get into a lot of fights because of that. And I guess he kind of always had that fear of eventually that could happen to me when I grew up, especially moving to one of the toughest cities on the island called Waianae. So I believe I was what, fifth, and I say this story all the time. I say I was about fifth, sixth grade, super athletic. I played every sport, baseball, soccer, football. My dad was like, "All right, you gotta learn how to fight." So I'm like, "Well, I don't need to fight. Like, I don't have to get into any fights, Like, no one makes fun of me in school, He's like, "I'm telling you, you need to learn how to fight." So he dropped me off to our community boxing gym. It's called Waianae Boxing, and that's the rest is history. I learned how to fight there under Doug Westbrook, one of the legends out here in the city. I learned how to fight with them. Um, I traveled all around the world. I had close to 50 fights. I fought in the nationals. I was ranked on the USA Boxing. The goal eventually was to be to represent United States in the Olympics, and I fell short from fighting Errol Spence. I lost him in the nationals, and he went on and he represented America at 152 for the USA Boxing.
Wow, that's a crazy story. And to see how far you've come, I mean, a full-fledged run in the UFC, some success in PFL. Now you're on Dirty Boxing, transitioning to a new sport. I mean, it's quite crazy to see. I mean, when you look at it, when you started getting, onto the mainstream off the regional scene, you had a great win over Ricky Tercios, who now has also accomplished some really great success. And now you fought the who's who, you've traveled the world. Talk to me a little bit about some of, the lessons that you've learned and some of the things that you can take away from your journey thus far.
There's so many lessons that I learned, with this journey. I went from being one of the biggest prospects in mixed martial arts at 135, um, and then I get a loss in RFA at the time. It was a split decision loss that I probably should never lost. It was if you go back and you watch the fight, I definitely won the fight, but took a loss. So it kind of turned my UFC career, kind of on the bench. We got the opportunity to fight on the Dana White Contender Series, won that fight against Ricky Tercios. And then we were supposed to make our UFC debut in Brazil. It was going to be in Sao Paulo. It was Sean O'Malley's jiu-jitsu coach. I forgot his name already. Cody Nola fought him. He was in the UFC for a while. That he ended up pulling out of the fight, so they offered me Raoni Barcelos. I accepted the fight, and I think it was about 2 weeks before my fight. I was grappling at the time with Brian Caraway. He was in the UFC as well, and he popped my knee, so I ended up getting surgery. So I was off for 2 years, and just kind of going through depression. My dad was still battling cancer at the time, and just a lot going on. Um, I finally make my debut. I'm 2 years. It's been 2 years, past 2 years. I don't think I was ever physically healthy. And I was fighting at 135 most of my career, right? My first amateur MMA fight, I believe, was at, I want to say it was at 145. And then I think I fought at 145 again. And then I fought at 150. And then, my professional debut was at 145. And then most of my fights then were at 135. Don't know why I ever made the switch to 135. I should have listened to my mentors and some of my coaches at the time, which I should have fought at 145. And I think that plays a big part of, the decline of my career with the UFC. But if we can backtrack, I took the 2 years off. I was trying to get healthy. I was with the UFC Institute trying to rehab my knee because I had total knee surgery. I tore my PCL, my meniscus. So I was out for 7 months at the time, right? And then I started doing all my recovery, all my treatment at the Institute. I just never felt like I really recovered fully. But mentally, I wanted to get back really bad, because I was like, man, I gotta let the fans know what I'm about, and I need to fight. I've been on the bench for 2 years, and at that stage, it's a little tough too because if you're not fighting, you're not getting paid, right? So like in a sense, if you sign your first contract and you don't fight, then how are you supposed to get paid for that 2 years? So it's definitely a tough trade, to get into if you're just starting the first scene of getting into the UFC. But I've learned a lot from that. Anyways, yeah, I took the 2 years off. We finally get a fight. We end up fighting Khaled Taha, um, some some pro fighter from Germany, I believe. Um, I had a bunch of things going on, man. He ended up pulling out the fight. They offered me Raoni Barcelos again, and we denied the fight. It's a big thing with my management and Sean Shelby. We get into a little argument about, why am I denying fights and stuff. And we just, as a team and as a team, we just, with that short of a notice, we didn't think it was a good fight for us just because it was too short of a notice. I was coming off of surgery. We were getting ready for Khaled Taha. And then, he pulls out and they give me Raoni Barcelos, and then we end up not taking the fight. So kind of put me on the burner for a little bit. I don't know how long I waited. It must have been like 4 to 6 months. I could be wrong. I would have to go back and look. But I finally get a phone call. My manager at the time tells me like, hey, like, I don't know when you're going to get another fight again. I think Sean's, disappointed about that decision that we made, but, just stay in shape, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, we end up getting on the Max Holloway card versus Poirier, the second fight, right, in Atlanta. They offer me Khaled Taha again, which, okay, cool. We know the opponent. We're studying him. We're getting ready. So we take the fight. Everything felt good. We were fighting at 135. It's been 2 years since my surgery. I'm 20. I want to say I'm 29 at the time. The weight just doesn't come off like it used to. You know what I mean? Like, but mentally, I knew I could make the weight. Right? I signed at 135, and just mentally, I was like, if I should be fighting at 135. Never came to my head that I should be fighting at 145. But just mentally, I was a lot stronger, and I knew I could make the weight. Right? And that kind of went backwards on my part. I struggled to make the weight. I finally made the weight, and then when I performed, I just never felt like I was myself. I had no power, I had no vision. My legs wasn't there. I didn't feel like myself, and I know that it affected my two fights in the UFC. Never been dropped or knocked out, previously, and I sustained my first TKO against Khaled Taha in 25 seconds, I believe. From a shot that I see a million times, that I don't get hit with. He hit me. I didn't think I was hurt. I couldn't control my body. I was on the ground. The rest stops the fight. Mentally, I'm strong, so I'm like, whatever. It's just a long layoff. We'll get back to it. I was rusty. We'll get back to the next fight. So we fight Randy Costa in Boston, I believe. Same thing. Like, I struggled to make the weight. Finally make the weight. I wouldn't say I didn't properly hydrate, but the day of my fight, I just feel like shit. I feel like I just couldn't perform and be myself like I was, previously. 9 out of the 10 times I'll probably beat both of the guys that I lost to UFC, but like that night just wasn't my day. I lost to Randy Costa, a great kid. Love the guy. Really, really great athlete. Really good fighter. It was a good fight, going out, and then same thing. He hit me with a shot that I see a million times, and I couldn't see at the time. It hit me. It hurt me. I didn't know what was going on. I got hurt, and ref stops the fight. So now we're 0-2 in the UFC, right? We're on the chopping board now. So I'm kind of nervous. I'm like, damn, like, well, what's going to happen next? My manager at the time is super nervous. He's like, I don't know what's going to happen. We get a phone call in like December. Yeah, basically saying like, we're going to let Boston go, have him go outside the UFC, get a few more wins, and we'll bring him back in. I'm like, fuck, man. I was just, as a fighter, you're super bummed because I know what I'm capable of doing in the sport. I've always thought that I was going to be UFC world champion, and I felt very short of that. And I've accepted that, and I've came to terms, and that's kind of how everybody got a different path. Every fighter got a different path, and you got to be able to understand that and accept that. Um, so I got released from the UFC. I did prior to that, I did all my studies with the institute. I did all my body scans. They put you through like this whole, um, I guess this whole, you go through all these different technologies where you check your BMI and you do all these things, and everything indicated that I should never fought at 35. But we kind of already knew that, but we made the mistake to fight at 135. So I'm released from the UFC. We're trying to get back on the UFC. So the goal is to get another win or get two more wins and get back in the UFC on short notice, which like every fighter does, right? And then COVID hits. Boom, we go into a whole shutdown. All these gyms are closed. There's no promotions really fighting. Uh, the whole city of Las Vegas is locked down. If you go on the strip, there's nobody on the strip. The city's dead, completely dead due to COVID. Fast forward, fights are starting to open up again. It's a lower capacity crowd. You got to do all your testing. You got to have the mask on. We get a fight with LFA. It was kind of short notice, but we get a fight. My manager calls me like, "Hey, like, let's go fight." I'm like, "All right, let's go. I'll get ready." We're training through COVID. It's very restricted. We don't have much partners. Everyone's kind of still like in awe of what's going to happen next. With what's happening with the economy and what's happening on with life. I get a whole nother coaching staff. I was working with James Gifford at the time, super great legend out there in Las Vegas, training a lot of the fighters at the UFC and a lot of boxers, whatever. I felt great at the time. We take the fight against, I forget his name, Sean. We get a fight against him at 150. So we take the fight. Everything felt great. I felt strong. I felt like, I was like, okay, this is myself now. I'm starting to feel like I was myself. And if you go back and look at the fight, I won the fight, but I won the fight by disqualification. It was a brutal knee, right? If you ever look it up, it's probably the most devastated illegal knee in MMA history. We hit each other at the same time. So he threw a hook, I threw a hook, and I hit him. He hit me at the same time. We both kind of got staggered. I was staggered, he was staggered, and then he ran from the other cage and just threw a knee right across the cage. Full sprint, boom, knocked me out. I never been knocked out that cold. I woke up. I remember raising my hand. Like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened? I remember having a dash on my face. Like, what the? I'm telling my coach, like, what happened? He's like, you won the fight, but this fucker illegal needs you. We're doing all these protocols, and we're like, bro, I'm concussed. You know what I mean? I just got fucking illegally kneed. I got totally knocked out. We're in South Dakota. We're doing all these protocols, whatever, and then doctors are like, "Oh, you're good." I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I can't be good, like my face didn't feel right. They sent us back to our hotel. My coach is, watching me. He's been through this before. He's been through a lot of fights with boxers and MMA coaches, and he's watching me to see if I'm okay. I felt all right. I was talking. Everything was good. Obviously my face was swollen. My family really wanted me to go see the doctor, so we ended up making that decision. So we took an Uber, went right to the hospital. They put us in. We do all of our scans. End up finding that I have a broken orbital. I think what right here was broken, and then my orbital was broken right in half. So they're like, bad news is you're gonna need surgery, right? We get that done. We come to Las Vegas. It's hard getting an appointment there because everyone's trying to get in. Everybody's sick. We're still under the whole COVID protocol in Las Vegas. I finally get in. Long story short, I get the surgery done, and then now I'm sitting back like, fuck, like what am I gonna do now? Like, do I go back to fighting? Like, is this something that I really want to do? It was the big thing that kind of went viral with that knee, right? Like, damn, like Boston just got knocked out from a illegal knee. So I have to make a decision, like, do I want to fight again? And I went back in the gym and I felt great. I didn't have any problems. I did all my scans to see if my brain was fine. And I just felt healthy. I was like, dude, like, I'm too. I'm in my prime right now to, actually leave the sport. I die a dead man with a lot of regrets. So I'm like, screw this. I got to fight. So we get back in shape. I'm feeling like the best that I've ever did. We knew that me fighting at 140 or 145 was the best thing for me. So we did that. I had like 4 or 5 fights pull out from COVID. It's crazy. COVID and my opponent's pulling out now. What's the next step? Um, we're getting ready for a fight. I think we're gonna fight for Fury. Yeah, we're gonna fight for Fury. This is 2022. We're gonna fight for Fury fighting. So we fly up. I fly up my whole crew. We're up there. Um, my opponent misses weight. Whatever, no big deal. I'm like, fuck it, let's fight. Like, I'm gonna smash this kid. Um, we accept the fight. The next day, I get a phone call from my manager. I had a new manager at the time, Iridium Sports. Hey, bro, I got bad news here. I'm like, what's up? He's like, your opponent doesn't want to fight today. I'm like, bro, are you kidding me? Like, we're already here at the fight. Like, we just accepted. We weighed in. It's fight night. We should be fighting. No, it's not gonna happen. I'm like, fuck. He's like, well, good news is that RIZIN PFL wants you. We're gonna work something out with them. And then if you backtrack, I end up fighting on the Challenger Series for PFL. So I beat him. I break his jaw in the second round. He couldn't he couldn't come out of the ring because I broke his jaw right in half. So we get back in the gym. We're back in Extreme Couture in Las Vegas. We're just training. I just came off of a win after having all those 5 fights pull off. I'm like, oh, okay, like this feels great again. Like I feel like I'm myself again. Boom, we get another call. Like, hey, Movlid, however you say his last name. He was Yeah, he pulled out of the fight or the tournament, so they asked me if I wanted to come in. I'm like, shit, yeah, why not? Like, this was like a 2-week notice kind of thing. Pretty much my last run for mixed martial arts. Like, yeah, let's fucking do this. I get a chance to fight for $1 million. Like, let's go. So we take the fight. We fight Shane Montmirail. It's my first fight. He's a Muay Thai guy. He's gonna want to stand up. Totally opposite happens in a fight. We're fighting. I hurt him bad. And then he holds me the whole fight, takes me down, I get back up, takes me down, I get back up, just holds me in a Muay Thai clinch and holds me on the cage basically the whole fight. So I'm like, fuck, I should have been better as a mixed martial artist. Anyways, I lost to Shaman decision. The way the PFL works, you get a second shot, right, in the tournament, in the regular season. So I end up drawing Brennan Loughnane. Great fight, right? He came from Contender Series 2, didn't get a shot at the UFC, thought that he should have been in the UFC and never became that. Ended up becoming champion for PFL, I believe, that year. But anyways, I was supposed to fight him. Yeah, I was supposed to fight him. I think 2 weeks before my fight, I'm going with Kai Kamaka, one of my really great friends, brother. He's a fighter as well, trying to get back into the UFC. I'm wrestling with him and like he tweaks my rib cage and I think I like tore my oblique. So I'm like, fuck, like this is right before my fight. The only thing I could probably do is get a cortisone shot, but I was like, bro, one kick or one punch from Brendan, like I'm going down. I'm probably going down, and I would hate to go down like that. We're so close to the fight. Like I don't think it's a great idea for us to fight. So we end up pulling out of the fight. So I'm like, damn, no. The season's basically over for me, so I'd have to wait next year, right? We're waiting to see what's going to happen next. If PFL, we're trying to ask if, maybe they could potentially release me so I could go sign with RIZIN because RIZIN wanted to sign me at the time. They're like, no, we're gonna hold on to Boston. We got our plans is to push them in for next year's tournament. So we waited a couple of months. We waited to December, and then again, I get the phone call or I get an email from Ray Seffel that I'm getting released. This shit. So that's just kind of when I took a step back. I'm like, fuck, you know what? I need to think about my life and what's better for me. I got a career here in Hawaii, got a federal job, moved back here to Hawaii, and I've been here for 2 years. I went back to one of these gyms in my city to help out. There's a lot of crime happening right now with the kids using guns and killing each other, and it's always been a dream for me eventually to come back and like give back to my community. So in the meantime, I've been doing that. I was teaching classes Tuesdays and Thursdays at West Oahu MMA on the west side of Waianae. So that kind of fulfilled my cup of just giving that back to the kids. I'm sorry, I go to 2 gyms. I train out of my coach's house, Al Kekahuna, and then I train out at Waianae Boxing Club down in my city with Noah Suino, really great boxing coach as well. Has a lot of amateur boxers coming out of the city, up and comers that will be a big name one day. But yeah, just igniting that fire again, and people are like, oh, Boston's fighting again. He's been out for almost over 2 years. Like it's great that he's fighting again. We've been waiting for this. And most importantly, when I see the kids, they see a professional fighter. There's not a lot of professional fighters in Hawaii, right, that went to the UFC or traveled around the road. So to come back to a community gym like that, or West Oahu gym or Coach Alice gym, to see them see me as a fighter, a professional fighter, and give them some inspiration of like maybe I can do that one day. So like that's kind of what I'm super excited about, to give these kids hope.
It's a crazy journey you've been on, and it's come full circle now, and it's great to
Yeah.
give back to the community. And I'm sure that more than anything is what's inspired you to come back. But real quick, what are you doing for work right now these days?
I work on fire suppression. So we do anything with, I work on a military base. We do anything with fire alarms, backflows, any fire suppression, uh, fire sprinklers. It's more of like a plumbing trade.
But let's get back to your fight real quick. Lamar Brown, he's your opponent. He's a little bit older than you, but he's got a little less experience than you. So what are you expecting in this fight?
Uh, what am I expecting? I expect Lamar to come and bring the heat. Probably doesn't have, like you said, the experience that I have, but he's probably a hungry professional athlete. He's been on PFL. He seems like he's more of a wrestler. I believe he fights at a really good credential gym, out in Atlanta, from my understanding. Haven't watched too much film on him. If you watch his film, there's not a lot of film of him even striking. So I expect him to bring his best, especially fighting for this promotion. He doesn't. Pretty sure he knows he can't wrestle, right? So he's not going to try and take me down. So you got to box, you got to elbow if you even get that close, but you got to box. So I know the guy's going to come and bring it.
His last knockout was his first amateur fight. So it's been quite a while. I think that was 2013. So I know he's definitely looking to get another knockout on his record. But like I mentioned, he's a little bit older. He's a little bit less experienced. For you, do you think a lot of your experience, whether it comes to boxing, whether it comes to MMA, do you think that's going to really be a big factor in the fight?
Absolutely. There's no reason why I should be on the preliminary card. But when it comes June 14th, everyone's going to see that I'm the real deal. I have really good hands. Uh, if you look at my fights, I have a knockout with the elbow. I know how to use elbows. I know how to use that clinch. I love that clinch. I love fighting inside. I know how to box. I know how to move. My hands are fast. My hands are heavy.
And for me, your favorite move is seems to be the hooks. I love seeing the way you throw those hooks with so much power. So I think in that smaller cage, those might play a big factor. And I got one more question for you before we start heading out of here, though.
Go for it.
Obviously, the card is stacked from top to bottom. We got former UFC guys, former PFL, Bellator guys, former bare knuckle guys. We're seeing a ton of big names. How do you plan to make Dirty Boxing your new endeavor and take over the promotion?
This is the opportunity for me to show like what Dirty Boxing is really about. I love mixed martial arts, right? I love kicking, I love grappling, I love elbows. Most importantly, I love boxing. That's what people know me for. Just really makes sense for me to fight on a platform where you can just box and use elbows. And you're definitely going to see it in a smaller cage with 6-ounce gloves. People always ask me like, why don't you go back to boxing? I'm like, definitely thought about it. I'm a lot older now, and I don't think it's as possible. If I was a little younger, now at my age, dirty boxing just makes sense. It keeps me in that combat sports. I can use elbows, and I can box. Most importantly, I can put shoes on. I don't have to be barefoot. Like I'm in a boxing ring. Like I'm super stoked about this fight.
What's your thoughts on the expansion of boxing, with what Jake Paul's doing, what the YouTubers are doing? How do you think that plays a factor in the boxing game?
It's definitely a different time. It's funny that you mentioned that because my dad, like obviously follows the sport, and he's like, I'm already like writing this thing to, maybe reach out to Jake Paul and his promotions. Why don't you fight for him? Like he's been saying that for the longest time. I'm like, I love to, but like I don't know if that's even how it works. I would really have to sit down and speak with management. But yeah, that game has just changed the whole way. If you look at sports. As a kid, and I see these kids coming up from like Wine Boxing and from Coach Al's gym. You see these kids training super hard. They're competing at the amateur level. And then you got these social media influencers coming in that never fought in their lives. But they have the views, and I get it. It's popular. It's the next thing to do, right? They get these views, and then they jump into a fucking ring and they're trying to fight. It's just I get both sides. There's great money in it, but it's very selfish for the guys that are coming up that train, every day. The kids that are coming up that are trying to make the Olympics, and then you get the guys that are in the Olympics. You probably, I mean, I don't know when I haven't been following the Olympics in the past years or so, but say for instance the last Olympics, you got all these fighters from USA. Um, you don't even hear about them. You probably don't hear about half of the roster even fighting, and then you get some YouTuber fighting for millions of dollars, and you probably never see that as an amateur boxer turning professional, So there's definitely an argument on both sides. But money talks, right? If you got the looks, if you're able to talk, that shit, and the numbers sell, then go for it, right? I'm not knocking you on that. That's great. Hopefully I can get there one day where I can be on go knock some fucking YouTuber out.
Well, let's tag Jake Paul and see if we can get you there one day. I think there's lots of opportunities though in boxing, and like you said, money talks, and money in the industry is always a good thing for the
Yeah, I
fighters.
think I believe Darren Till just got done with one of those fights.
And I think he might be
Yes.
doing more.
Yeah, it's like I said, this is a great opportunity for like reignite my career with dirty boxing, to get my name relevant again, and to be just for people to see like what I'm really capable of doing. Right, I'm 34 years old. I'm going to be 35. The clock's ticking. Right. With this sport, I feel with dirty boxing, with all these influencer boxing fights or promotions, I feel like it's a lot different, right? You can fight when you're a little older, and I feel like that's why a lot of the UFC, PFL vets are coming to dirty boxing because what sold me was like, damn, I don't have to wrestle anymore. I don't have to grapple. I don't have to kick. I just got to box and I maybe elbow. You know what I mean? Like, how often do you see elbow in the UFC or PFL happen? It's probably a very small percentage unless you're ground and pounding, right? Um, so like once I saw Dirty Boxing launch, I'm like, dude, this is actually really, really awesome. 3 3-minute rounds, like that's fucking piece of cake. I'm used to getting ready for 3 5-minute rounds, So that's where I feel like that's where they get or that's where they sell themselves to a lot of the fighters that aren't in the UFC or PFL or whatever leagues out there. It's easy to get professional fighters to come in and get big names because just the platform that they have and the rules that are set aside.
Yeah, and I mean, this card is awesome. I mean, you got UFC guys like Alex Caceres and Saidi Kakramanov at the top of the card. Fun fighters like Alex Nicholson at heavyweight, he's fighting on the card. More, like you mentioned, Shaman Moraes and Boa Jenkins. I mean, all up and down the card is notable names. It's going to be a great card. And I think it's really changing the industry, which is really cool to see in front of our eyes.
Yes, yes, yeah. It should be a fun one. I know all the fights were in Miami, but if I can make a big name in here, let's bring this show to Hawaii.
Let's bring it to Hawaii. Hawaii is a fighting capital. I mean, in and of itself, I know you said before there's not a ton of fighters, but the fighters that have come from Hawaii, I mean, boy, oh boy, they've got that fighting spirit. And
Oh yeah,
it seems like one after another, we keep getting a few more coming from each generation. And so I
yes.
had to add this additional question in because I was going to kill myself if I didn't ask you.
Go for it,
And
bro.
you mentioned about Max Holloway earlier. I heard it on the broadcast of your Dana White Contender Series fight. I remember this from years ago when they said that you guys grew up together, and you mentioned it. You confirmed it. They weren't talking out the side of their cheek. Obviously, he's got a big
No,
fight coming up, but I want to hear just the influence of Max Holloway and kind of how he's influenced you, but also on a greater scale, Hawaii.
look at what he's done. Look at his resume, his rapport. He's kind of changed the game for Hawaii, right? BJ Penn. There's other pioneers that were for before BJ Penn, but BJ Penn was actually, from my understanding, one of the first champions to come out of Hawaii, right? So like me growing up as a kid, which Max was a kid, Max is a year younger than me, maybe 2 years. Um, we grew up watching BJ Penn, right? Hold Hawaii on his shoulder, like that's kind of what got me into mixed martial arts and wrestling, to see BJ Penn fight in the UFC, come out of that walkway, punch himself, lick the blood off of his gloves, like that motivated me as a kid, so I can only imagine what Max has done for the community and the city and the state of Hawaii. He gives these kids hope to, go out there and be the next Max Holloway, even be better. When I go to my gym out in Waianae Boxing, I'm sure I don't think it's a real belt, but there's Max's belt hanging up with his picture. I mean, if I was a kid and I come into that gym and I look up at that, I'm telling myself like, man, I want to be that one day. I want to be champion just like Max one day. And that's the influence that he has in the island. And much respect to him. Just especially knowing that we came from the same city, and we grew up together. We've known each other for since we were kids.
But real quick,
Yeah.
talk to me real quick. What do we think's happening in the trilogy fight that's coming up this summer for Max?
Whew, crazy that fight's happening, right, for both fighters. They're talking about this being the retirement fight for Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is 2-0 against Max. I was fortunate that I fought on the same card them, their second fight. I remember watching their first fight when Max first got into the UFC. I'm like, holy shit, like he was super young. Um, and I believe I don't know if I'm pretty sure I was fighting mixed martial arts at that time. I don't know if I was boxing at the time, but I remember watching that fight. I'm like, damn, Max super young. Like he's in the UFC now, and he fought Dustin Poirier. He was doing well. And then DP took him down, and DP submitted him. That was a great fight. And the second fight, Max had his whole thing where he was pulling out of fights because he wasn't healthy, right? He was supposed to fight Khabib. He just wasn't really healthy at the time, and he somehow figured out a way to how to make it work and be healthy. Um, he ends up fighting Dustin Poirier, and like I said, I was on that card. That fight was a war. I personally feel like Max didn't fill in at 155 or didn't get that fill at 155 because he was fighting at 145, for the whole time. It was a great fight, and Dustin Poirier over the rounds kind of took over with his power and stuff. And it's just crazy because I'm a big Dustin Poirier fan. Max, if you hear this, if you need the help, I feel like I kind of fight similar to Dustin Poirier. I'm a southpaw. I could definitely be a good partner in this camp for this next coming fight, which is great because like I'm in shape now. I'm in shape, and if Max needed the help, I could go out there and give him the looks that he needed if he ever needed it. But like I said, that's going to be a great fight. Dustin Poirier's retirement fight, right, for the BMF title, right? Max holds that BMF title. I think Max is kind of on the same ship. You can't make 45 forever, right? For like me, I couldn't make 35 forever. You can't make 45 forever, and I feel like that last fight showed it. He wasn't strong. Um, Potentially couldn't see the shots that he saw in the past, right? Max he's a big guy. He's not walking around at 160, 170. He's a big guy, right? I'm sure he gets over 200 or in that range, from 180 to 200. So to him to fight at 155 is going to be a lot better. I feel, especially at his age right now. You're going to see a better Max Holloway. You saw it against Justin Gaethje. Everybody had Justin Gaethje winning that fight, and look what Max did. So you're going to get a whole different fight at this trilogy fight, and it's for the BMF title. So say if something happens to DP and DP wins this fight, now he's the BMF title. Does he retire, right? And then maybe Ilia Torpia becomes a champion at 155. Like, there's a lot of possibilities that can happen at 155 in this division. It's actually getting really exciting right now. So who knows? That's a really great fight to look forward to. And I hope for a great fight. I wish the best for both. And may Max get at least one win in that trilogy, right?
Yeah, and Max is filled in great to 155, and you're right. He did look a little small the first time around, but I think he's taken the lessons and kind of is approaching it a little bit different. It's going to be a great summer to be a combat sports fan, but obviously starting first here, June 14th, Boston Salmon fighting against Lamar Brown at Dirty Boxing 2. Boston, thank you so much for coming on to the show today, joining us. Just want to pass the floor over to you if you have anything that you'd like to say here at the end.
It was great to be on this podcast. Thank you, Jake, for your time, for reaching out to me. I really appreciate it. It's been over 2 years since I fought. Haven't been more excited. This is a chance to actually show you guys what I'm capable of doing, and show you guys my hands, my skills, my knockout power against Lamar Brown. Lamar Brown, great opponent. Just understand that I'm coming. I'm coming to make that highlight. I'm coming to get paid, and I'm coming to grow with Dirty Boxing and fight on these main cards. I don't want to be on these prelims, man. Put me on that main card.